This is a security announcement. Would all passengers please remain with their luggage and personal belongings at all times, as any unattended items will be removed by the British Transport Police. Security personnel to this station 24 hours a day. The rear of platform 5 for the 10:53 ScotRail service to Lanark. Calling at Cambuslang, Uddingston, Bells Hill, Motherwell, Shieldmuir, Wishaw, Carluke and Lanark. The rear of platform 5 for the 10:53 ScotRail service to Lanark. The next train to depart from the rear of platform 4 will be the 1100 cross-country service to Penzance. Calling at Motherwell, Haymarket, Edinburgh, Berwick-upon-Tweed, Newcastle, Durham, Darlington, York, Leeds, Wakefield, Westgate, Sheffield, Chesterfield, Derby, Tamworth, Birmingham New Street, Cheltenham Spa, Bristol Parkway, Bristol Temple Meads, Taunton, Tiverton Parkway, Exeter St David's, Newton Abbot, Totnes, Plymouth, Liscard, Bodmin Parkway, Lostwithiel, Parr, St Austell, Truro, Redruth, Camborne, Hale, St Eyre and Penzance. The rear of platform 4 for the 1100 cross-country service to Penzance. The rear of platform 2 for the 1103 ScotRail service to Edinburgh. Calling at Bells Hill, Shotts, West Calder, Livingston South, Haymarket and Edinburgh. The rear of platform 2 for the 1103 ScotRail service to Edinburgh. The next train to depart from the front of platform 8 will be the 1113 ScotRail service to Kilmarnock. Calling at Dunlop, Stewarton, Kilmores and Kilmarnock. The front of platform 8 for the 1113 ScotRail service to Kilmarnock. The next train to depart from the rear of platform 4 will be the 1700 cross-country service to Birmingham New Street. Calling at Motherwell, Haymarket, Edinburgh, Dunbar, Berwick-upon-Tweed, Alnmouth, Newcastle, Durham, Darlington, York, Leeds, Wakefield, Westgate, Sheffield, Chesterfield, Derby, Burton-on-Trent, Tamworth and Birmingham New Street. The rear of platform 4 for the 1700 cross-country service to Birmingham New Street. The next train to depart from the rear of platform 6 will be the 1701 ScotRail service to East Kilbride. Calling at Crossmyloof, Pollokshaws West, Thornley, Giffnock, Claxton, Busby, Piermyres and East Kilbride. The rear of platform 6 for the 1701 ScotRail service to East Kilbride. The next train to depart from the front of platform 9 will be the 1703 ScotRail service to Neilston. Calling at Pollokshields East, Queen's Park, Cross Hill, Mount Florida, Cathcart, New End, Williamwood, White Craigs, Patterton and Neilston. The front of platform 9 for the 1703 ScotRail service to Neilston. The next train to depart from the rear of platform 3 will be the 1703 ScotRail service to Edinburgh. Calling at Bells Hill, Shotts, West Calder, Livingston South, Haymarket and Edinburgh. The rear of platform 3 for the 1703 ScotRail service to Edinburgh. The rear of platform 11 for the 1700 ScotRail service to Ayr. Calling at Kilwinning, Irvine, Barassie, Troon, Prestwick International Airport, Prestwick Town, Luton on Ayr and Ayr. The rear of platform 11 for the 1700 ScotRail service to Ayr. platform alteration. The 1700 ScotRail service to Ayr will now depart from the front of platform 11. Passengers are reminded that smoking is not permitted anywhere in Glasgow Central station. This includes under the canopy at the Gordon Street entrance to the station. The next train to depart from the rear of platform 9 will be the 1709 ScotRail service to Newton, calling at Pollokshields East, Queen's Park, Cross Hill, Mount Florida, Kings Park, Croftfoot, Burnside, Kirkhill and Newton. The rear of platform 9 for the 1709 ScotRail service to Newton. The rear of platform 14 for the 1705 ScotRail service to Ayr, calling at Hazelgilmer Street, Johnston, Milliken Park, Cowwood, Lochwinnock, Glengarnock, Dalry, Kilwinnock, Irvine, Troon, Prestwick International Airport, Prestwick Town and Ayr. The rear of platform 14 for the 1705 ScotRail service to Ayr. The front of platform 2 for the 1706 ScotRail service to Cathcart, calling at Pollokshields West, Maxwell Park, Shawlands, Pollokshields East, Limeside and Cathcart. The front of platform 2 for the 1706 ScotRail service to Cathcart. Ticket checks are in operation at this station. Please have your ticket available for inspection. The rear of platform 1 for the 12:30 Virgin Trains service from London Euston. This train will terminate here. The rear of platform 12 for the 1707 ScotRail service to Gourock, calling at Cardonald, Hillington East, Hillington West, Hazelgilmer Street, Hazel St James, Bishopton, Linebank, Woodhall, Port Glasgow, Bogston, Catstead, Glasgow Central, Glasgow West, Fort Matilda and Gourock. The rear of platform 12 for the 1707 ScotRail service to Gourock.
As a passenger announcement, I'd like to apologise to passengers on platform 3 for the late arrival of coaches for the 1703 ScotRail service to Edinburgh Waverley. Coaches for this service will shortly arrive within the station.
The next train to arrive at the rear of platform 1 will be the 12:30 Virgin Trains service from London Euston. This train will terminate here. The rear of platform 2 for the 1709 First Transpennine Express service to Manchester Airport, calling at Lockerbie, Carlisle, Penrith, North Lakes, Oxenholme, Lancaster, Preston, Wigan North Western, Manchester Oxford Road, Manchester Piccadilly and Manchester Airport. The rear of platform 2 for the 1709 First Transpennine Express service to Manchester Airport. The next train to depart from the rear of platform 14 will be the 1716 ScotRail service to Queensby, calling at Cardonald, Hillington East, Hazelgilmer Street, Bishopton, Port Glasgow, Win Hill, Drumfrocker, Branchton, IBM Holt, Inverkip and Queensby. The rear of platform 14 for the 1716 ScotRail service to Queensby. The next train to depart from the rear of platform 7 will be the 1716 ScotRail service to Edinburgh, calling at Bells Hill, Holytown, Carfin, Cleland, Hartwood, Shotts, Fauldhouse, Addenwell, West Calder, Livingston South, Kirknewton, Curry Hill, Western Hales, Kingsnow, Slateford, Newmarket and Edinburgh. The rear of platform 7 for the 1716 ScotRail service to Edinburgh. The rear of platform 5 for the 1712 ScotRail service to Girvan. Calling at Barhead, Dunlop, Stewarton, Kilmores, Kilmarnock, Troon, Prestwick International Airport, Prestwick Town, Ayr, Mayo and Girvan. The rear of platform 5 for the 1712 ScotRail service to Girvan. The next train to depart from the rear of platform 8 will be the 1717 ScotRail service to Mailstone, calling at Newend, Wildenwood, White Caves, Patterton and Mailstone. The rear of platform 8 for the 1717 ScotRail service to Mailstone. The rear of platform 15 for the 1714 ScotRail service to Ayr, calling at Hazelgilmer Street, Johnston, Howwood, Glengarnock, Dalry, Kilwinning, Irvine, Barassi, Troon, Prestwick International Airport, Prestwick Town, Newton-on-Ayr and Ayr. The rear of platform 15 for the 1714 ScotRail service to Ayr. Passengers are reminded that smoking is not permitted anywhere in Glasgow Central Station. This includes under the canopy at the Gotton Street entrance to the station. The next train to depart from the front of platform 11 will be the 1720 ScotRail service to East Kilbride, calling at Clarkston, Hairmyres and East Kilbride. Front of platform 11 for the 1720 ScotRail service to East Kilbride. The next train to depart from the rear of platform 4 will be the 1720 ScotRail service to Lanark, calling at Cambuslang, Uddingston, Bells Hill, Motherwell, Shieldmuir, Wishaw, Carluke and Lanark. The rear of platform 4 for the 1720 ScotRail service to Lanark. Ticket checks are in operation at this station. Please have your ticket available for inspection. The next train to depart from the front of platform 10 will be the 1722 ScotRail service to Largs, calling at Hazelgilmer Street, Johnston, Milliken Park, Kilwinning, Stevenson, Saltcoats, Ardrossan South Beach, West Kilbride, Fairley and Largs. The front of platform 10 for the 1722 ScotRail service to Largs. The next train to depart from the rear of platform 5 will be the 1723 ScotRail service to Cathcart, calling at Pollock Shields West, Maxwell Park, Shawlands, Pollock Shaws East, Langside and Cathcart. The rear of platform 5 for the 1723 ScotRail service to Cathcart. The next train to arrive at platform 2 will be the 11:43 Virgin Trains service from London Euston. This train will terminate here. The next train to depart from the front of platform 9 will be the 1727 ScotRail service to Barhead, calling at Closmalouf, Pollock Shores West, Kenneth Head, Priest Hill and Darnley, Letts Hill and Barhead. The front of platform 9 for the 1727 ScotRail service to Barhead. The next train to depart from the rear of platform 1 will be the 1730 Virgin Trains service to London Euston, calling at Carlisle, Penrith, North Lakes, Oxenholme, Lancaster, Preston, Wigan North Western, Warrington Bank Quay, Crewe, Rugby, Milton Keynes Central and London Euston. The rear of platform 1 for the 1730 Virgin Trains service to London Euston. The next train to depart from the rear of platform 15 will be the 1728 ScotRail service to Ayr, calling at Kilwinning, Irvine, Barassi, Troon, Prestwick International Airport, Prestwick Town, Luton on Ayr and Ayr. The rear of platform 15 for the 1728 ScotRail service to Ayr. The next train to depart from the rear of platform 8 will be the 1728 ScotRail service to Newton, calling at Pollokshields East, Queen's Park, Cross Hill, Mount Florida, Kings Park, Croftfoot, Burnside, Kirkhill and Newton. The rear of platform 8 for the 1728 ScotRail service to Newton. Ticket checks are in operation at this station. Please have your ticket available for inspection. The rear of platform 12 for the 1725 ScotRail service to Gourock, calling at Gilmer Street, Port Glasgow, Greenock Central, Greenock West, Fort Matilda and Gourock. The rear of platform 12 for the 1725 ScotRail service to Gourock. The next train to depart from the rear of platform 11 will be the 1733 ScotRail service to East Kilbride, calling at Crossmalouf, Pollokshaws West, Thornley, Giffnock, Clarkston, Busby, Thornton Hall, Hare Myers and East Kilbride. The rear of platform 11 for the 1733 ScotRail service to East Kilbride. The next train to depart from the rear of platform 13 will be the 1734 ScotRail service to Ardrossan Harbour, calling at Gilmer Street, Johnston, Milliken Park, Howwood, Lochwinnock, Glengarnock, Dalry, Kilwinning, Stevenson, Saltcoats, Ardrossan South Beach, Ardrossan Town and Ardrossan Harbour. The rear of platform 13 for the 1734 ScotRail service to Ardrossan Harbour. The next train to depart from the rear of platform 2 will be the 1740 Virgin Trains service to Birmingham New Street, calling at Lockerbie, Carlisle, Oxenholme, Lancaster, Preston, Wigan North Western, Warrington Bank Quay, Crewe, Stafford, Wolverhampton and Birmingham New Street. The rear of platform 2 for the 1740 Virgin Trains service to Birmingham New Street. This is a security announcement. Would all passengers please remain with their luggage and personal belongings at all times, as any unattended items will be removed by the British Transport Police. The next train to depart from the rear of platform 6 will be the 1737 ScotRail service to Maidstone, calling at Pollokshields East, Queen's Park, Cross Hill, Mount Florida, Cathcart, New End, Williamwood, White Caves, Patterton and Maidstone. The rear of platform 6 for the 1737 ScotRail service to Maidstone. The next train to arrive at the rear of platform 9 will be the 1323 service from Newcastle. This train will terminate here. The next train to depart from the front of platform 14 will be the 1737 ScotRail service to Gourock, calling at Cardonald, Hillington East, Hillington West, Paisley Gilmer Street, Paisley St James, Bishopton, Winebank, Wood Hall, Port Glasgow, Bogston, Catsdyke, Greenock Central, Greenock West, Fort Matilda and Gourock. The front of platform 14 for the 1737 ScotRail service to Gourock. The next train to depart from the rear of platform 15 will be the 1745 ScotRail service to Ayr, calling at Gilmer Street, Irvine, Barassi, Troon, Prestwick International Airport, Prestwick Town, Luton on Ayr and Ayr. The rear of platform 15 for the 1745 ScotRail service to Ayr. The next train to depart from the rear of platform 8 will be the 17:45 ScotRail service to Newton, calling at Pollock Shields West, Maxwell Park, Shawlands, Pollock Shaws East, Lionside, Kings Park, Croftfoot, Burnside, Kirkhill and Newton. The rear of platform 8 for the 17:45 ScotRail service to Newton. The rear of platform 14 for the 17:42 ScotRail service to Paisley Canal, calling at Dumbreck, Corkerhill, Moss Park, Crookston, Hawkhead and Paisley Canal. The rear of platform 14 for the 17:42 ScotRail service to Paisley Canal. The rear of platform 3 for the 17:42 ScotRail service to Carlisle, calling at Barrhead, Dunlop, Stewarton, Kilmores, Kilmarnock, Auchinleck, Newcumber, Kirkconnell, Sankirk, Dumfries, Annan, Great and Carlisle. The rear of platform 3 for the 17:42 ScotRail service to Carlisle. The next train to depart from the rear of platform 9 will be the 17:48 ScotRail service to East Kilbride, calling at Closmalouf, Pollock Shaws West, Thornleybar, Giffnell, Clarkston, Wisby, Piermires and East Kilbride. The rear of platform 9 for the 17:48 ScotRail service to East Kilbride. The next train to depart from the rear of platform 13 will be the 17:49 ScotRail service to Largs, calling at Gilmer Street, Johnston, Hillingarnock, Kilwinning, Stevenson, Saltcoats, Ardrossan South Beach, West Kilbride, Fairley and Largs. The rear of platform 13 for the 17:49 ScotRail service to Largs. The next train to depart from the rear of platform 4 will be the 17:50 ScotRail service to Lanark, calling at Cambuslang, Uddingston, Bells Hill, Motherwell, Shieldmere, Wishaw, Carluke and Lanark. The rear of platform 4 for the 17:50 ScotRail service to Lanark. The rear of platform 7 for the 17:51 ScotRail service to Cathcart, calling at Pollock Shields East, Queen's Park, Cross Hill, Mount Florida and Cathcart. The rear of platform 7 for the 17:51 ScotRail service to Cathcart. The next train to depart from the front of platform 10 will be the 17:57 ScotRail service to Barrhead, calling at Crossmalouf, Pollock Shaws West, Kennis Head, Priest Hill and Danley, Nits Hill and Barrhead. The front of platform 10 for the 17:57 ScotRail service to Barrhead.